Hi everyone, good morning. So Shall we start? So thank you for joining us today. I'm Ellie from BSI Philippines, and I'll be your facilitator for today's webinar on Strengthening Food Safety Management Foundation, What's New in HACCP and GMP. So joining us today is BSI Philippines Operations and Technical and Compliance Manager Irvin Saleta, who is responsible for assessing the client's various management systems to ensure that they are complying to the requirements of the international standards. And among these standards are quality management, environmental management, and food safety such as GMP, Hasep, and FSSC 22000. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box into your GoToWebinar control panel. And then I'll bring them up at the end of the talk. So now I won't hold you up any longer. I'll turn the mic to Sir Irvin. Sir Irvin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ellie. Good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is safe and blessed Friday, okay, to everyone. And thank you for attending this webinar presented by BSI Group Philippines on strengthening the Food Safety Management Foundation, okay, looking on the trends on the new HACCP and GMP standard. Okay, so on behalf of the whole team, we would like to thank each and everyone for spending your Friday morning with us. Okay. Ellie, can we move the next slide, please?
Sure, sir.
So our main objectives for this 1 hour webinar is basically to share with you what are the changes that happened to the new version of the Codex Hasep, the 2020 version, which was released last year. I know that most of you are very anxious, okay, to know what are these changes and how can you apply this in your respective organizations, okay, to further improve your processes and activities. Okay, and apart from that, also we would like to show our portfolio of training and system certification services to address your needs and be able to provide you with the services that you are really needing, okay, in the establishment, implementation, and also for the improvement of your food safety management system. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so we'll formally start our session by looking at what happened, okay, during the previous year and why the need for the change. Okay, so in early 2019, the Codex Committee on Food Hygiene already started drafting the new version, okay, or the update from the Codex Alimentaris Commission, the recommended code of practice for food hygiene. And the final draft update was presented by late of 2019 and was formally released in 2020. So the new version, if you're able to visit probably the website of Codex and find some articles, especially during the past months and the past years, it highlights the 2020 version of the Codex. So it's a long time coming to be to be honest, and some organizations are asking us, of course, if there are any updates, because normally for some standards or for some guidance documents, it takes around 7 to 8 years for any update. But in the case of Codex, okay, it took quite some time. Okay, the last update was 2003, and now it's on the 2020 version. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, but okay, what has not changed? Okay, even with the new version of the Codex Hasep, okay, Hasep is still focused on unintentional or incidental food safety hazards. Okay, so this is one of the unique features of Hasep that makes it a very useful tool and the foundation of most food safety management system standards. Okay, if you're familiar with FSSC or even with BRC, there are specific clauses of these standards that specifically dedicated to the establishment of your HACCP programs. Okay, because it's the foundation and the main goal of HACCP being a preventative tool is to identify and prevent Okay, the unintentional or incidental food safety hazard. So for those type of hazards that are what we call as intentional or deliberately introduced or added to the product or the process, there are separate systems that are currently being introduced and being practiced by most organizations in order to address those type of hazards. Now, as we can see on the next slide, Ellie, kindly move on the next slide, please. So as you can see here in this diagram, the difference between how the different types of hazards can be addressed by HACCP systems and how the different types of hazards, particularly those that are intentional, okay, can be addressed by other systems in place. So these are not competing systems, but they are interrelated and they contribute, okay, with each other. So the weakness of one standard can be addressed by another. For example, in the case of Hasep, since they are focused on unintentional food safety hazards, okay? So for those type of hazards that are deliberately or intentionally introduced to the process or to the product can be addressed by other systems such as our food fraud system and our food defense system. And these are clearly being highlighted in GFSI approved schemes. There are very specific requirements on how we're going to establish, okay, our food fraud program and our food defense program. Okay, but for those type of hazards that are probably inherently present or unintentionally introduced or produced by the process, so all of those can be addressed by HACCP. Okay. So we'll now look at the main revisions or the main updates that happened from the 2003 version up to the 2020 version of the standard. Okay, next slide, please, Ellie. Thank you. So the revision now includes updates that can help enable a better application and implementation by food business operators, or what we call as FBOs, okay, competent authorities and stakeholders. So the way that the Codex HACCP is structured and created makes it more handy and easier for implementers, okay, to establish specific programs related to their GMP, okay, and related to their hazard program, okay, and also for the different authorities and the different stakeholders on how they can assess, okay, and align their process and activities with the requirements of Codex HACCP. Okay. Next slide, please. So what are the key elements that change with the new version? Okay. So personally, I would encourage each and every one of you to visit the website of Codex in order for you to get a copy of the new version of the standard. If there's one thing very nice or interesting about the Codex as standard, these are public documents. These are readily available. Okay, so uh, some people say that there's really no excuse for organizations not to update themselves on the changes that happened. So if you have time or if you already have a copy of the new version of the standard, so good for you. Okay, but for those that still don't have, okay, feel free to visit the Codex website to be able to get a hold of the copy of this document. Okay, so we'll now zero in on the key elements, okay, that was introduced on the 2020 version of Codex HACCP. Okay, the first one is the enhanced expectation from the management to establish and maintain a positive food safety culture. Okay, this might come as a surprise to some because in GFSI recognized schemes or standards, food safety culture is already an expectation for organizations. Okay, it is clearly stated that organizations should be able to demonstrate, okay, a culture of food safety or a positive food safety culture in your respective organizations. So codex, Okay. Join the trend on that one. Okay, there is a specific expectation already from the management to establish, okay, a positive food safety culture within the organizations. If you remember, on the previous version of Codex Hasep. Okay, so there's really no explicit clause or specific requirement on management commitment. Okay, it is an implied process. It is an implied expectation for the management of the organization to demonstrate not just leadership but also commitment. But with the 2020 version, it is explicitly stated now, though, the management involvement and the management commitment, and how thus, the management should demonstrate leadership and commitment by establishing a positive food safety culture. So, how are they going to go about with that? Okay, so here are the salient points. Okay, commitment of the management and personnel on, of course, on their food safety programs. Okay, the leadership are expected to set the right direction and engage all personnel in food safety practices. Okay, awareness of the importance of food hygiene by all personnel in the food business. Okay, establishing an open and clear communication among all personnel in the food business, including deviations and expectations. And of course, ensuring that there is an availability of sufficient resources, okay, to ensure the effective functioning of the food hygiene system. Okay? So the generally this expectation of Codex HACCP 2020 is for the leaders and the top management of the organization to be more involved and to be more committed in establishing the food safety program of your organization. And how to go about that? By establishing a positive food safety culture. Okay? For those that are new to the concept or to the idea of what is a food safety culture. Okay, so these are a set of behaviors and practices that an organization espouses and demonstrates. Okay, so this is the culture of your organization. GFSI has released a position paper on regarding food safety cultures. If you want to get a deep dive on understanding what food safety culture is and how it contributes to the effectiveness of your food safety program. So I encourage you to visit GFSI and find the position paper on the food safety culture. Okay, there is also a um, a separate training that DSI is offering on the understanding and improving the culture of food safety in your organization. So this is a handy training course to have because it understands, no, it looks more into the not just on the food safety programs but on the attitudes and behaviors of the people. Okay, because based on the study that was established, around 70% of programs, any programs that organization are implementing tends to fail or not succeed, mainly because of how people behave in the organization. So even though you have your food safety management systems in place, your Hasep system, your GMP programs, okay, even the higher standards, okay, most of it fail mainly because of how people behave. Okay? So when Codex released the 2020 version, okay, it also highlighted this aspect of ensuring that there is a positive food safety culture within the organization. Okay. Another change or another update that happened is the Codex HACCP is now on its own chapter of the Codex General Principles of Food Hygiene. So previously, it's just an annex document. Okay, you still remember the previous version of the document. Okay? So it's an annex part. Okay? If you explore the document, it's on the last part of the document. But right now, it's on a separate chapter already on its own. Okay? So meaning it's a standalone chapter and not just an annex document of Codex. So what does this mean? Okay? So it means that for any food business organization that would establish and implement your Haaship system, you need to provide a clear and robust food safety management system in your organization, because this is one of the main expectations, okay, of the new version of the standards. Okay, okay, next slide, please. So zeroing in on some other specific changes of the 2020 version is more cosmetic. If you were able to compare the 2003 with the 2020 version, okay, most of the changes are more cosmetic. Okay, when it comes to the terminologies. Okay, but okay, it is expected already for organizations, especially those that are implementing their HACCP management systems, to already know and understand this one. So what Codex did was just to highlight and reiterate more, okay, about how this requirement should be established, implemented, and demonstrated, okay, by the organization. Okay, and the first one is on the principle one of the HACCP system. Okay, so we would not be discussing, of course, about the 12 logical steps and the seven HACCP principles. Now we'll just highlight on those updates and changes. Okay, so I hope that almost every one of us here are still familiar and keep it by heart. Okay, the 12 logical sequence as well as the seven HACCP principles. Okay, it's more it's some sort of a recitation in some of us, that we are expected to memorize and know what are the sequence of activities. Okay, for principle one, previously, if you remember, it is stated as conducting a hazard analysis. Okay, step six or principle one. Okay, conducting a hazard analysis. Okay, now how it is stated in the 2020 version is conduct a hazard analysis and identify the control measures. Okay, some of you probably might be thinking that we are already doing it. Okay, we are already implementing it, and isn't it already expected in the previous version of the standard that after we have conducted the hazard analysis, we would identify, okay, the control measures? Okay, yes, you're right on that thinking. However, there's a new dimension that was introduced when we do our hazard analysis and identifying control measures. Okay? The new version of the standard highlighted also the need for conducting hazard analysis, okay? Not just on the intended use of the product, but also for any known unintended use. Going back, okay, we will do some sort of a review here. Going back on the preliminary steps to enable hazard analysis, okay, there is a step there, right, in identifying the intended use. Okay, and as an organization implementing your Hasep system, it is always expected of us that we should identify the intended use of our product. And what's the other dimension? Any unintended use of the product. So in the hazard analysis that we would be doing right now, if there is a possibility of, or if there is a chance, okay, for our product to be unintendedly being used, okay, we should also consider that in the hazard analysis. Okay? For example, a product is supposed to be cooked before being consumed. Okay? There are possibilities that they are not being cooked or they are not being processed. Okay? So in order for us to determine if there are any significant hazards that may be present, okay, in such instances that the product does not, okay, is not being used based on its intended purpose, okay, or on its intended use. Next slide, please. So there's also a more emphasis on implementing control measures along with a more detailed validation and verification requirements. Okay, this one is another interesting update that happened in the 2020 version of Codex Hasep. Okay, most of us who have been practicing Hasep are already used to or familiar on the concept of verification, right? This is something that is expected in the 12 logical steps. This is something that is stated in the 7 Haaship principles. Okay? But now, in the new version of Haaship, okay, aside from doing verification requirement, there is an enhanced expectation to ensure that we are also doing validation activities. Okay? Ellie, can you move on the next slide, please? So as can be seen on Principle 6 of HACCP, previously it is stated as verifying procedures of the HACCP system to ensure that it is effective. Okay. Now, Principle 6 is stated and worded as validation of the HACCP plan and verification procedures. So before any HACCP plan can be implemented, its validation is needed. Okay, makes sense, right? Before you implement any control measure, you need to do validation first because what was the purpose of validation? To ensure that control measures are effective, okay? Especially for those identified significant hazard. Okay, so this is done, okay, to make sure that the following elements are capable of ensuring control of our significant hazard. Okay? So we validate, we implement, and then we verify. Okay? So if validation looks into the effectiveness of the control measure, verification looks into the consistency, of the implementation of our control measure. Okay? And just a reminder that verification should always be carried out by someone other than the person who is responsible for performing the monitoring and corrective action process. Okay? So another person is expected to do that. Okay? Another new requirement, specific requirement of the Codex HACCP 2020. There is now a specific section for allergen management. Okay, previously, as what we're most of us are used to, allergens are considered in the hazard analysis under chemical hazards. Okay, right? And our prerequisite program, highlights, or includes how we manage potential allergens. Okay, but now there is a specific section already for allergen management. Okay, and to support our establishment and implementation of the allergen management program, a whole new code of practice on allergen management has been issued by Codex Alimentarius Commission. Okay, so it is CXC 60/2020. So it recognizes the fact that allergens are critical in the process and that extensive prerequisite programs are required to ensure that our consumers are protected. Okay, so there's already a specific section which links on this particular code of practice that was released by Codex. Okay? So if you want to enhance or improve your allergen management program, this code of practice is a useful reference. Okay? It gives us a step-by-step guide and considerations when establishing and implementing our allergen management program. Okay. Next slide, please. There's also an enhanced discussion on lot identification and traceability, which references various standards and guidelines in establishing lot identification and traceability. So again, Codex provided useful codes of practices and general standards on how we can enhance and improve our traceability process and activities and how we can improve our lot identification process. But again, as always, as with any management system standard, we always need to consider the country of sale, and any applicable legal, regulatory, and statutory requirements that we need to comply when it comes to labeling, lot identification, and product traceability. Okay, so to put it simply, beyond the codes of practices that Codex is stating here, okay, there should always be a consideration on the country where our products are manufactured, where our products are being sold. Okay, so this is not new. Okay, I'm sure that most organizations here are already have systems in place for lot identification and traceability. You are already doing effectiveness checking of your traceability exercises. You have already implemented your recall activities, your mock recall exercises. Okay. So, but okay, again, okay, this is more of an enhancement, okay, on that requirement. Okay. So basically, those changes are the key changes, okay, from the 2003 version of Hasep. Okay, and as you would notice, if you're able also to gather the new version of the standard, the CCP decision tree is already not included. Okay, as compared to the 2003 version where the CCP decision tree is still there. Okay, so Codex is still looking into reissuing another decision tree. Okay, but with the 2020 version of Codex Hasep, okay, it is it is implied, okay, that any decision tree can be used by the organization in determining whether hazards are significant or not, whether the significant hazards can be a CCP or not. So it gives us more freedom and more leeway to use whichever decision tree tool can be useful for the organization. Okay, because there are some organizations that aside from implementing their HACCP systems, you also have your other food safety management systems like your ISO 22000, your FSSC 22000, and with ISO 22000, okay, there is the concept of operational prerequisite program, which is not included yet, okay, in the Codex HACCP. So whether you use that, okay, as your decision tree in determining the hazard, it is still acceptable. Okay. So knowing those changes and those updates in the 2020 version of HACCP. Okay, next slide, please. So how can BSI help you on your journey, okay, for your food safety management system in your GMP and your HACCP program? Okay. So next slide, please. So BSI believes the world should be supplied with safe and high quality food. It is our commitment to our partners and to our stakeholders that no one is exempt from being supplied with safe and high quality foods. Okay, and next slide, please. And being a trusted global brand in the industry, okay, we are the thought leaders when it comes to the development of new standards. We are the world's first national standards body and also a founding member of ISO. And most of the widely used and most adopted standards are developed by BSI. Okay, some of which are shown in your screen. Okay, so that's how we support, okay, our commitment to ensure that any consumers or any organization should be able to get the best of the products or services that they are getting. So we are a Royal Charter company founded in 1901, okay, and we have various locations worldwide. Okay, and how do we support, okay, our clients and our partners in their journey? Okay, next slide, please, Ellie. So with over 110 years of expertise, okay, shaping global standards to facilitate trade and improve your business. So we offer a wide range of standards, okay, not just on management systems. Okay, we provide product specification standards. Okay, the publicly available specifications, the past documents that most food industries are using are developed by BSI. We also provide the business process standards. Okay, these are the next generation of standards focus on improving your business process to ensure consistent and quality output. And we have shaped the original standards for the following, okay, including the ISO 22000, which FSSC is currently using right now as one of the core documents. Okay. And Okay, we have a new generation of standards that are centered around people, behavior, and values. That's how committed, and that's how we believe that even though there are systems and standards that organization are already implementing or are already certified with, okay, the factor of behavior is something that some organizations are lacking, or some organization needs to improve on. So we develop a new generation of standards centered around people, behavior, and values, okay, to help organizations reach your full potential and protect your corporate reputation. Next slide, please. So what sets BSI apart, okay, from other organization? So we share, we embed, we assess, and we support. Our wide range of products and services are aimed at addressing your specific needs. Okay, may it be for training, may it be for assessment, okay, may it be for standards, okay, and may it be with other applications or software to help you improve your business. So we have the right product for you. So we shape, okay, the leading standards, okay, and the most widely used standards right now. We share our standards and guidance documents in many formats, okay, supported by different purchase models. So we have our online standards portal. We call it the BSOL. Okay, this is a handy repository of references and standards that an organization can avail to ensure that you always get the latest version and updates of any applicable standards for your industry or for your business. We have our knowledge services wherein our tutors impart the knowledge and skills needed to embed excellence. Okay, we have a various portfolio of training programs. Okay, we do on-site training, we do remote training courses, we do provide public training and in-house training. We have lead auditing courses, we provide gap analysis and gap assessment. Okay, we also provide assessment services, okay, to ensure that an independent, okay, assessment of your management system is being done. Okay, we have various management system certification standards. Okay. Our food portfolio, okay, have various accreditation and various scope categories in place. Okay, we provide also gap analysis. We provide second party assessment, okay, as well as our product certification services. So your kite mark and your CE marking. Okay. And of course, we support. Okay. Apart from our training and standards and our assessment services, we support you with various tools to help you continually improve your business. We have our operational excellence, which provides Six Sigma training courses, okay, on various belts. We provide project management courses and project improvement courses. Next slide, please, Ellie. So our service solution for the food safety includes certification, training, assessment, and supply chain software, providing you and your customers assurance and enabling you to manage risk more effectively. And for the new version of GMP and Hasep, okay, based on Codex 2020, we are very excited to introduce to you our own. Okay, Ellie, can you move on the next slide, please? Our own BSI, HACCP, and GMP certification criteria. Okay. So in line with the 2020 version of Hasep, of Codex Hasep, BSI also updated our HACCP and GMP certification criteria, okay, to align with the new requirements and to ensure that the organizations are complying, okay, with the requirements of the 2020 version of HACCP. Okay. Certifying to the BSI, HACCP, and GMP certification criteria will give you industry recognition for your HACCP-based food safety management system. This certification criteria was specifically written by BSI to provide a robust framework for the application of the Codex Alimentarius HACCP method to meet current food industry expectations. Okay, for those that are starting out or would want to further improve GMP and Hasep management system. The BSI Hasep and GMP certification criteria is structured in such a way that it's user friendly, and the requirements and how it is stated are in such a way that it is easier for the users to understand what is the specific expectation for each of the requirement. Okay. So how do we do that? Okay, Ellie, can you move on the next slide, please? So the structure of the criteria consists of three modules which can be applied in totality or in part to achieve different types of certification depending on the certification criteria. Okay. We have the combined HACCP and GMP certification. Okay. We have a separate, okay, certification for HACCP and a separate certification program also for GMP. Okay. So what are the three modules involved here? Okay. Ellie, next slide, please. So module one focuses on management system. So as you remember, okay, one of the new expectation of the 2020 version of Codex Hasep is the management commitment. Okay, and fostering a positive food safety culture. So our module one, okay, covers, okay, this expectation. It consists of 6 criteria, okay, and it is the foundation of your food safety management system, which requires consideration and documentation to support aspects like the commitment of your senior management to safe food production and your food safety policy to setting out roles and responsibilities, as well as how you manage your documentation. Okay, so these are the framework of your HACCP management system, okay, which again, okay, clearly supports the importance of setting the positive food safety culture of your organization. Okay. Next slide, please, Ellie. Thank you. So Module 2 specifically defines the requirement in relation to the HACCP system. Okay, so the HACCP module focuses on products and processes from the perspective of identifying hazards and critical control points, okay, as well as how to reduce the risk associated with the hazards to help ensure that your products are safe for the consumers to enjoy. Okay. So the structure of HACCP, as stated in Codex HACCP 2020, okay, can be found here on Module 2. This is aligned with the Codex HACCP 2020 version, okay, specifically on the new requirement, okay, highlighting, of course, on Principle 1, on Principle 6, okay, of the 7 HACCP principles. Okay. Next slide, please, Ellie. Thank you. Okay, and Module 3, of course, supports the implementation of your good housekeeping practice or your good manufacturing practice in your organization. Okay, this module would requires consideration of operations to ensure that elements like workers, your equipment, and the general environment don't impact the safety of your products. Okay? It also focuses on the control of foreign materials and chemicals, as well as the management of allergens, the management of waste, as well as your pest control program. So in light of the additional expectation of HACCP 2020 on allergen management, on lot identification and traceability. Okay. Module 3, okay, provides us a more detailed and thorough interpretation of what is expected for any organization when it comes to establishing your GMP program, when it comes to establishing your prerequisite programs, okay, when it comes to supporting, okay, in creating an environment that would not contribute to the introduction of hazards. Okay, next slide, please. So like what I've said, okay, a while ago, our various range of services to cater to your needs on knowledge and assessment is always available, and we have a wide range of activities that we provide to our partners. Okay, and one of which is our connected learning live process. So this is an immersive technology with trusted experience. So for those that are interested or would want to take training courses or certification courses when it comes to the food safety management system in the comfort of your home or in the comfort of your offices. Okay? We provide this platform to ensure that you are still continuing to gain the knowledge needed, okay, as of course no to develop our competency. Okay. Ellie, next slide please. Okay. Through our connected learning live platform, organizations can be able to participate in virtual trainings and knowledge sharings. Okay? Our wide range of virtual platforms cater to the participants' needs and preference. So whether you want to have it as a public training or as an in-house training specifically for, let's say, on implementation of your Hasep system or auditing, okay, your Hasep system. Okay, so we provide a virtual platform wherein you can still attend and interact with other delegates, okay, knowledge sharing with the tutor, okay, and participation in certain activities and discussions. Okay. So the BSI, HACCP, and GMP certification can also be used for the following types of food sector suppliers. So this is the beauty of the BSI, HACCP, and GMP certification. So it's not just exclusively for food manufacturer. This is also applicable for, yeah, like what I've said, producers of ingredients and additives, okay, transport and storage operators, okay, producers of equipment specifically used for food manufacturing, okay, cleaning and sanitizing equipment, okay, producers of packaging materials, okay, producers of pesticides, fertilizers, and even veterinary drugs. Okay, this is applicable for you, and producers of animal food or pet food or feed, okay, including feed supplements as well as food brokers. So whether you would want to get the training, okay, on HACCP or certification courses, let's say on auditing, okay, so we can provide that to you. Okay, when it comes to the certification aspect, okay, so the BSI HACCP and GMP certification criteria is applicable, okay, for this type of food sector. Okay. Ellie, next slide, please. And to address the current limitations and constraints on doing on-site audits. So depending on your current certification status, okay, whether you are on the initial stage or on the continuing assessment, or in some they call it surveillance stage, BSI can offer the following audit arrangements. For our HACCP and GMP certification, we offer both a full remote audit option, okay, and also a full on-site audit option. So whichever is the preference of your organization, whichever works for your team and you are more familiar or comfortable with. So rest assured that the quality and of course the extent of the audit would not be compromised, whether it is a full remote audit or a full on-site audit. Okay, so our pool of competent auditors can provide you with the industry knowledge and expertise to help you in assessing your organization's requirements to the BSI, HACCP, and GMP certification criteria. And once it was confirmed that your food safety management system complies to the requirement of the BSI, HACCP, and GMP criteria, you would be issued, of course, with the certificate and the certification mark, the one that was shown in the previous slide. Okay, so this is a mark of trust, of course, that your system was assessed by BSI and it was confirmed that you are aligned with the requirements of the standards, right? So for our training and system certification inquiries, okay, so kindly visit our website, okay, and drop us an email, okay, for any inquiries with regards to training and certification. Okay, and also we encourage you to follow our social media sites. Okay, we have our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter account, and we encourage you to join our Viber community. So the QR code is already present here to get updates on the latest upcoming webinars, the latest trends, and various articles, not just for the food industry, okay, but for other sectors as well. So we encourage not just you, but also your colleagues and your probably friends and other um, acquaintances to join our Viber community. There are a lot of features there. There are a lot of articles and upcoming activities and webinars that we are running, okay, for the next months, right? Okay, so I'll be turning you over to Ellie, okay, for some questions and for our poll question activities. Okay, Ellie.
Thank you, Sir Irvin. Now, we are open for any questions. Just put it in the control panel on your GoToWebinar panel, and we will tackle each one of them. Okay, sir. Sir, we have a question right here. So, do we need to upgrade from ASIP to FSSC 22000? And what are the requirements?
All right. Okay. The first question is I'll answer each question first. Okay. Do you need to upgrade to from Hasep to FSSC? Okay. The answer is of course you need to determine first whether your organization is ready. Okay, to upgrade. Okay, to upgrade from your Hasep management system to FSSC. Okay. Another consideration is of course if there is a need, okay, for organizations not just to have the HACCP certification but also the FSSC certification. Okay, majority, okay, I'm not saying all certified organizations, but majority of those venturing in management system certifications are mostly market or customer driven. So for them to export their products, for them to participate as a supplier, let's say in one of their customers. So they need to have this certification. So look into your market also if there's a need for you to upgrade, okay, from HACCP to FSSC or other, not just FSSC, even ISO 22000 or even BRC. Okay. And the third, no, and probably for me, it's the most important aspect is how committed is your organization. Okay, going back to our discussion a while ago, okay, on the expectation of the 2020 Codex HACCP on management commitment. So it's not enough that you have procedures. It's not enough that you have your hazard analysis in place. It's not enough that you have your prerequisite programs in place. Okay? What's more important, okay, is the commitment. Okay, not just of the leaders of the organization, but of everyone. Okay, in ensuring that all of those process, all of those activities are implemented and effective. Okay.
Okay, so thank you for answering that question, sir. And there's also a follow-up question. And how or are there any HACCP prerequisites, and how often should HACCP be reviewed?
All right. Okay. Okay. Again, we will divide the question. Are there any HACCP prerequisites? Okay. If you would look at the foundation of any food safety programs, okay, not just management systems, but we're talking about programs in general. The basic foundation of any of those is your good manufacturing practice and your HACCP system. Okay. So these are the basic steps. These are the basic activities, ensuring that your activities are does not contribute to the introduction of hazards, ensuring that your people, okay, are knowledgeable on the concept of food safety. Okay. So these are the basic foundations. So if we're talking about prerequisite when it comes establishing HACCP, okay, okay, there's really no specific prerequisite, but basically you need to look into your practices, your housekeeping, your GMP activities in your organization, whether it is in place, whether it is already established, whether it is already put in place and effectively being implemented. Okay, so if you would look at our BSI HACCP and GMP certification criteria, okay, and for those that are interested to understand better how the HACCP and GMP certification criteria can help your organization. So the requirement on GMP is on Module 3. So it states there the requirements on the different prerequisite programs that you need to establish. Okay? And then the requirements for HACCP is on Module 2. So there's are two different sections of the certification criteria. So it's easier for us to understand. So we want to establish our prerequisite program. Okay, let's look at module 3. So once we have set that in place, okay, again, Okay, the beauty of the BSI HACCP and GMP certification criteria, you can have your GMP program certified, okay, based only on module 3. Okay, but if you want to take the full certification on HACCP and GMP, okay, so the requirements of module 1, module 2, and module 3 would be checked. So the basic housekeeping, probably it's the foundation. But HACCP, no, as with any other management system standard, it is the basic foundation of any food safety programs.
Thank you, Sir Irvin. And do we have any other questions from the audience? Okay, sir, we have one here. It says that, is HACCP training on implementation of HACCP a requirement for certification?
Okay, is HACCP training a requirement for certification? Okay, the answer is both yes and no. Okay, depending on what is the context of the implementation training. Okay, that you would be getting or you would be having. Okay, yes, for those that are starting out in the establishment of your HACCP system, because you need to have the knowledge. Okay? You need to have the understanding of what is HACCP, what is the structure of HACCP, what is the difference between PRP and CCP, those basic concepts. Okay, so what are the different types of hazards? What are the different categories of hazards? Okay, so for those that are starting out, okay, it's a yes. Okay, but for those that are already, let's say, implementing it or already certified for quite some time, a refresher course is helpful because, of course, we cannot assure that all those members of the organization that have started out when you set up your HACCP system are still there in your organization. Okay, and also the level of understanding and the level of knowledge may have changed, okay, through time. Okay, so a refresher course is ideal. Okay, with regards to the frequency, again, there's no specific requirement or expectation on the frequency of getting the training, but uh, if you think there's a need for the organization or the members, particularly of the HACCP team or the food safety team, to have a regular training. So when we talk about regular, whether you would define it as an annual one or as a quarterly one, okay? So the best person to determine, okay, whether there's a need, okay, for a refresher training is, of course, your team itself or your organization itself. Okay, but in any case, okay, like what I'm saying a while ago, okay, so it's important that there should be a working knowledge, okay, especially for those that would be directly involved in the establishment of your HACCP system.
So there you go. You heard it from our expert. So yes, it's a requirement to go under HACCP training before acquiring a certification for HACCP.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, we have a question for you for those who join us today. So I'll be um, launching a poll for everyone. So kindly participate as we want to hear what you think. So So, is your organization already HACCP and GMP certified? Okay, so I'll be closing. Looks like everyone has already put their answers. So I'll be closing this poll. So thank you, everyone. And Sir Irvin, um, before we wrap up, do you have any message for our audience today?
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Ellie. Okay. So, siguro, just some parting words. Okay. Food safety. Again, this may sound as a cliche, okay, to most of us, but food safety is everybody's responsibility. We always say that in our sector or in our industry. It is always our responsibility, not just to our consumers, okay, but to all of our stakeholders. Okay. And the more that it's closer to home, the more it affects us. So imagine if your loved ones or your family members are the one consuming your products or eating your product. So there's an added care. Okay, on how we ensure that the food that we are providing them is safe. Okay, and the Hasep system, okay, or the Codex Hasep system is a tool. Okay, it's not an answer, okay, to any food safety issues. It will not guarantee or it will not absolve us that there wouldn't be any issues in the future once we implement it in the organization, but there is an assurance that there is a system in place to manage if ever issues such as this would arise. Okay, so it's a better option rather than not having one. Okay, as manufacturers or distributors, we don't want other entities or other organization to see, okay, that we have lax programs or process. We don't want regulators, we don't want FDA to visit our facility and raise violations or sanctions to us, right? Okay, especially when it comes to food safety related issues. So to prevent those from happening or to prevent those from occurring, these programs, okay, GMP, Hasep, are useful tools that organization can always adapt. Okay, and for those that are already implementing it, okay, I always encourage organization, okay, to always continually improve, okay, your process and your activities. There would always be areas for improvement in your food safety management system, right?
So thank you, Sir Irwin. That's it. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your expertise and knowledge with us today. And to our audience, we appreciate you being here. So don't miss out any updates from us by following us in our social media. And just so you know, as what Sir Irwin mentioned earlier, we are now on Viber. So join our Viber community, BSI Philippines, for the latest updates, promos, and announcements. And again, thank you and see you next time. And stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.